Wildlife Reserve. As you please, remain seated. Keep your hands, arms, feet, and legs in the truck at all times. Right above you is an animal spotting guide that identifies the animals like today. I cannot guarantee we're actually going to see all these animals. We do usually have some pretty good luck. So in a moment here, we're going to test this luck so we can find for ourselves. But also, friends, as a reminder, this truck that I'm actually driving, the roads out here, they are very bumpy, so I'll be sure to hit every single one of them for you. That does mean, yes, friends, you must remain fully seated, no matter what. Even if you cannot see the animal, it is for your safety and the safety of the live animal. So parents, please watch your children. And children especially watch your parents. We're heading to the Harambe Wildlife Reserve today. So it's different ecosystems. Wait for the traffic ahead to clear out. Here we go. And our first stop today is the Little Forest, where the animals have been quite shy. They also are pretty well camouflaged, especially with the unique of the coats and feathers. Makes them a little bit harder to spot. So keep an eye out in the bushes and the shadows. We're going to see what we can spot for ourselves. Oh, down in the far right corner, walking around as an okapi. Comes around the open. The okapi to a zebra, but do not let this fool you. They're actually closely related to the giraffe. As to the skull structure and prehensile tongue, the okapi reach over the food above them, the giraffes can. Over here on your left, up on the ridge, is a bongo to these bushes here. An antelope species, where both the males and the females look identical. They both have deep orange coats and they both have those horns that are swept backward. Until they're head back, they can push through these bushes without getting tangled up, or even nicknamed the ghosts of the forest, due to how well the bongo can hide in the shadows. And those vertical white stripes on the sides help mimic the sunlight passes through the trees. You can blend a lot easier without moving around too much. Gonna pass by this watering hole here. Sometimes pretty good spot. They can almost hang around. Oh, yep, walking around against this back wall on the front left is a black rhinoceros. Now the black rhino was a very special pointed and triangular blip. Oh, hello, there's one right in front of me. And blended very well lined in. You guys might have already noticed him. I was with the one in the back. Taking a nap. That pointed upper lip allows to grab the food above them, and that one back there is demonstrating. Here on the forested areas, and the males, they can weigh close to 3,000 pounds. On the smaller side, though, of the rhino species. Yeah, these two are pretty close together. They're actually on different areas. They're pretty territorial. However, sometimes the territory will overlap. They don't mind too much as long as they keep moving. Oh, here on the right, in the bushes, was a greater kudu, a different antelope species than the bongo we saw previously. The greater kudus have much more grayish-brown colored coats. And only the males have horns that corkscrew and spiral upward. At least two females back there. They don't have any horns, but they are some of the largest antelope species. The shoulder they can reach heights around 55 inches tall. That's almost 5 feet tall, roughly. And right up in front of us, in the sunlight sitting down, is a large black and white bird called a saddle-billed stork. Oh, now looking up. Named for this yellow, saddle-like structure on top of the bill. Oh, hello. Quite large, it's around 5 feet tall, the wingspan around 7, even up to 9 feet from the tip, almost as wide as the overhead. There are two of them here. They're a bonded pair, they do mate for life. The females on the left, the males on the right, but there's a different color of their eyes. The female has yellow colored eyes, whereas the male has dark brown black colored eyes. And they communicate by rapping and clacking their bill together. They do not have a traditional bird call. But now we're going to the Sabi River, where the animals are aquatic things who love their waters. Just keep an eye out for any ripples or bubbles on the surface. Might be an animal underneath. Well, first on a new spot on the banks, there are some pink-backed pelicans. Look a bit closer, you notice they're not very pink at all. Much more gray and white colored feathers. As their name actually comes very light pink over the skin. And their feathers that do start over the backs closer to mating season. It's almost like they're blushing. But also, in the water here on the right, enjoying some snacks. Looks like there is two mouth hippopotamus, in fact. We're between these two islands here. Now they can hold their breath underwater for several minutes. It's very helpful for them. As well they can and do swim. They much prefer to actually walk along the river instead. That way, the hippos can propel themselves to the water and move very quickly if they choose to. Hippopotamus is a Latin for river horse, after all. There are two more hippos on your left-hand side. Nice nap in the water. Also, real quick, these pink pelicans are colonial nesters. They congregate groups around 500 individuals come back every year from the same exact species nest. Very important to protect these nesting sites. Another hippos walk in the water, just surfacing here. Now, they also like to sleep underwater. I believe the two over on the left, just past other islands, kind of demonstrating. Let us rise, service, take a deep breath, then sink right back down. All without waking up. It is a natural instinct for the hippo to do so. It also keeps them nice and cool during a hot summer day. And also, a group of hippos is called a bloat of hippos. And there's another bloat of hippos up in front of us by this waterfall, in the water there as well. Enjoying that cool water coming off of it. And keep an eye out over here on the left-hand side for any Nile crocodiles that could be out and about, either on the banks or in the water itself. They blend in quite well. They kind of go in and out. Oh, okay, very hard to see, but near that back wall, that little strip of water, I did see the back of one of them. The grass is kind of high. It's a little bit higher up than I am. Yeah, they're blending in back there. Kind of hard to see. But now crocodiles have extremely strong jaws that take down pretty much large as they are. They're also very gentle with their jaws. They can have their young mouth protect them and even their eggs inside their jaws as well, with those to hatching. So they roll around at tops of an eggshell on the baby crocodile side to hatch much more comfortably. And they'll be quite large. Tip or tail, the nose, gives you an average of around 16 feet long. That is just about as tall as a fully grown giraffe. But now, as we're leaving the Sava River, you will start to notice here in a moment the trees will be thinning out. So we're actually going to out to a very different ecosystem known as the savanna. Animals rely much less on their camouflage and more so on their numbers and their speed. But before the savanna itself, I already seen the inhabitants down there. Over here on your right is the baobab tree. They're very important. We're actually going to see a couple more of them in a moment. There's a large trunk story lot of water that became a tree of life. The dry and drought seasons, animals come up to these baobab trees, poke holes in it using their horns, trying to get to that sponge-like structure inside that stores all that water. And also, they're going to nickname the upside-down trees. Their appearance, their branches look very similar to the root system. They will only have leaves for 3 months out of the entire year. Have to serve that water inside their trunks. But already is spotted some Maasai giraffe walking around down here. We're entering off into the savanna, again the largest portion of the reserve. We'll start off in, and what you see here is only the western half of it. The other half, the eastern side, in a moment. It's some Ankole cattle with some huge horns in the bushes. Oh, there's some wildebeest hiding off in the trees over here on the front right past this animal keeper's truck. Oh, hello, out in the open, a lot easier to see. And there's also the young baby giraffe there on the right near those wildebeest. Doing that little guy, who's over a year old now, going up way too fast. He's over 12 feet tall now. Hopefully he'll move out and he'll see a little bit better. So these giraffes will get a little bit closer. The wildebeest back there, they're quite special. When they are born, they can start running around in very few minutes because they need to keep up with the rest of the migrating herd as they migrate to fall in the rainy season. Because these wildebeest migrations are incredibly large. They have been seen to have 1.5 million individuals. The largest migrations on Earth that happens every year, known as the Great Migration. Oh, real quick, turn attention to your left-hand side. Underneath the small green tree in the shade, lying down, are 2 African painted dogs. They are not hyenas, they belong to their own group, and they are a power couple. There's alpha male and alpha female that make this together. It helps make them one of the most successful pack hunters. In fact, they are way more successful hunters than hyenas, cheetahs, or even the lions. Oh, yep, they're usually back here in the left. They're the 3 sable antelope. They're the symbol of the Harambe Wildlife Reserve. They are incredibly courageous and determined. One of the only antelope species known to turn around and fight back in the option. Long, thin horns are curved backward to try and help deter any predator off of the backs. In fact, they're so formidable that lions don't like to mess with them. They try and steer clear away to save antelope if they can. And then, of course, the Maasai giraffe. Now, all the giraffes you see today on this reserve are Maasai giraffe, a subspecies identified with very rough and jagged spots. Much more serrated, messier look to them as you get closer to these two here. Unlike reticulated giraffes, more clean lineage with geometric spotted patterns. And real quick, the one here on the left, this is Mom, the little guy we saw when we came into the savannah. They have excellent eyesight. Currently watching the keepers over there. He's going to trees the food exactly which leads to Ramonzio, but they're also constantly scanning for any predators. With their long legs, giraffes don't usually like to lie down very often. They usually prefer to sleep standing up. And lucky enough for them, they're almost constantly eating, get enough energy. They only really to sleep for about 30 minutes a day, of which they do not even do consecutively. And they'll give birth standing up. This little guy here in front of us, he had a 6-foot giraffe in this world. Well, hello. Looks like this little guy is actually taking some snacks from the cow, and these ankle cattle seem very happy about it. These are ankle cattle. They have huge horns. This is one of the juveniles. The adult here is next to us. See how big the horns can get? Usually around 6 to 8 feet to the tip. But they're nowhere near as heavy as they may look. These horns, much more honeycombed, sponge-like structure, can allow their blood to be pumped with the horn, cooled off, and sent back to the rest of the body. Acts as their own internal air conditioning system. Helps keep it nice and cool. And they're also nicknamed the Witusi cattle. I really did domesticate them, but they're not domesticated like usual cows are. They are purely ornamental. The citizen will prize. They give nothing in return. Real quick, I just see the eland sticking out of those bushes. Can hear where that palm tree is located. You can see its head sticking out. The largest antelope species that can reach heights around 6 feet tall at the shoulder. They get a distinct clicking noise in their joints to walk around, usually around their ankle. We use it for territorial boundaries, almost like a Marco Polo situation. There we go, there's one on the open here. Click those joints, they can listen to other herds and not get lost. Despite them being around 6 feet tall on the shoulder, they can leap up in the air over 6 feet. They're very, very strong. And both the male and the female have these horns. The male here on the right, he likes to try and impress the female by getting his horns all take that vegetation. Get a nice flower crown for himself. It's very entertaining to watch him run around the reserve with a giant bush stuck to his head. Another giraffe. You see the palm trees there on the right. The giraffe have very long tongues. For their adults, usually around 18 inches long. It's prehensile when they grab the food. It's also covered in mucus. Helps leave the branches. Yeah, protects the tongue for them. Oh, there's also a springbuck up near the tall grass on the far right. That little guy over there is a very small antelope species. Got the name spring up in the air, the 6 feet, and forward the air leaves of 13 feet because they are incredibly fast. They are the third fastest animal with 4 legs. Around 53, almost 60 miles per hour sustained run. As a result, they're a mascot. Let us suppose the African good reason, not much came up for them, and we also love their s'mores color scheme they have. But around the corner here, the trees have been knocked over and cleared out, and you can already spot why. Right up in front of us, it's going to be an African elephant. And we're actually going to pull around and get a face-to-face look with this elephant here in a moment. Let me get around the corner here. There's also some mandrills on your left, not usually out and about. The largest monkey species to the head of the tail. That being a very small one. So this is one of the females. The male is very bright red and blue markings of the face. It's very familiar. And I usually have about like that. It's a nice surprise. But African elephants, they are matriarchal. It means the alpha female that leads the group. She knows the best watering holes, sleeping spots, and key locations are. Males, they only stay with the herd and considered fully mature. They get kicked out, head up their own, to the all-male herd as a bachelor herd. Here we go. But all African elephants have very strong and thick skin, but it's also very sensitive. It does require throw dirt, mud, and other debris on the back, so on personal sunscreen. And they also have very sensitive hearing. Allows elephants to actually communicate very deep, low-frequency rumbles that we cannot hear. In fact, we have discovered that well around 80% of their vocalization is done this way. That means a whole herd of elephants could be talking to one another, and we would have no clue if we're sitting right next to them. But I did want to bring up both their sensitive hearing and their sensitive skin. They're both very important in this next story. Researchers here on this reserve actually noticed and discovered that the African elephant does not like the sound of bees. So, they took this information over to farmers in Kenya who are having a lot of trouble trying to keep elephants off their farmland. Regular fences, they just weren't working. Especially once those elephants discovered those crops were an excellent food source, and after just one elephant raid, the majority of the farmers' income would be destroyed. But now, information. Those farmers with beehives next to the fence on their crops, elephants will hear this buzzing sound and decide to steer clear away naturally. However, of course, any elephant can choose to ignore it. Whether it's beehive fence, anger the hive, it won't take about one sting, they will never forget it. Change course and find one from preferred routes. Speaking of which, here's a young one. This little one here, just over 2 years old now, and we adore her as well. She's also growing up so fast. She's over 5 feet tall now, and also weighs around 1,300 pounds. Get into that cool dirt there to reapply the sunscreen. I believe this is Mom right next to her. They use our trunks for pretty much everything. Grab the food that freehand style tip. For drinking water, still a trip for the mouths, and for breathing, it still knows after all. But they're going to have more muscles inside their trunk alone than we have in our entire body. Also the same before with those beehive fences, it helps create new migration patterns. They are generational. It also allows a farmer to sell the honey the bees produce the market they choose to, but most importantly, is to keep both the active and the farmer safe, has heavily reduced the number of dangerous confrontations to them. Over here on your right, just past this baobab tree, I think I did see some more of the springbok that I talked about earlier, the ones that are really fast. With that s'mores color scheme, there they are. Seem a lot easier now. Here's some greater flamingos. They're the largest and the lightest pink of the flamingo species. It's very light pink coloring from the brine sugar they eat, but contains the protein, beta-carotene. Whenever they hatch, the feathers are much more of a grayish color. It's really not until after 2 whole years of causing the brine shrimp before those feathers even start to resemble that pink that we know and love. And yes, flamingos is called a flamboyance of flamingos. And now we are crossing over into the eastern half of the savannah. Usually some different animals seen over on this side. Oh, yep, I already spot some. A whole group of southern white rhinoceros lying down among the trees to the front right. We'll head over towards them here in a moment. They're going to be right next to a mud wallow they created that keeps them nice and cool. It's the elephant steel. They roll around in it, coats your skin, acts as sunscreen. But these are southern white rhinos. They actually get their name for a mispronounced old Afrikaan word known as white, not white. White translates to wide. Their upper lip is flat and wide. It is white. Over the grass, the gray is the ground. Very much unlike the black rhinos we saw earlier with their pointed and triangular upper lips. Now yes, black rhinos are a little bit darker than a white rhino would be, but depending on what mud either rhino was around it, could alter their appearance. So, ostrich. The animal keepers over there. Let's see them again here in a moment. We're going to head over to that clearing. Best with the difference though between the white rhino and black rhino is that upper lip, the shape of it. Your other clue is that white rhino is a little bit larger. Males can be around 5,000 pounds, females around 3,000 pounds. And also, white rhinos, you can see here, are one of the only rhino species, a group of a herd of rhinos, called a crash of rhinos. They have terrible eyesight. Make up for this some excellent hearing though, those cone-shaped ears. There's anything around them.
Yes, you know.
Yep, I'm gonna take a nice little nap, waiting for the more cooler evenings. Okay, very hard to see, but way off in the tree line, on the far left, just past this red rocks, way in the back, there are 2 cheetahs lying down. You can see their backs laying out. There's one sticking its head up. It's very hard to see in the trees themselves back there. Oh, there's another one in the corner down here in the front left. A little bit easier to spot. They're against the tree line in the grass. And advancing on 4 legs with speeds of 0 to 60 miles an hour, so it was 3 seconds, or 2 of them over there. The clock's going even faster this, however, but remember they are sprinters. Now, endurance runners, cheetahs cannot keep this pace up very long, but time their hunt perfectly to catch prey unawares to outrun them. And also, compared to other predators, cheetahs aren't nearly as strong, relying more on their speed, not their power, making them more of a daytime hunter, and trying to reduce the competition from much stronger nighttime predators. Hopefully spot here in a moment. Around the corner here are some Kofi rocks. Translate to islands of stone. They generally stand for an excellent shade, protection, and an overlook. Lions have been known to hang out around. I don't know if we're going to spot any lions right now, just based on the time of day, but they do surprise us. Let's see. Oh, in between the 2 large rocks, the back left is a lioness. Way up there.
Oh, way up.
Lions spend around 16 to 20 hours a day doing just that, sleeping and resting. Oh, here we go. The males at the very end here. They are nocturnal hunters. They do hunt at night. They pull around to them. Now the female lions, the lioness, do most of the hunting. The male will join occasion, but usually his job is trying to stay back to protect the pride spreading territory. Some water buck over here on the right. See what that ostrich saw earlier. Come to more in a moment. Yeah, here we go. Their eyesight is 6 times better than ours is in the dark, but during the day, about the same as ours. And even their roars can be heard around 5 miles away. It means you can hear them roar anywhere in this reserve.
Females.
We're gonna head around the other side of these rocks here. Get a better look at those water buck and that ostrich. Oh, and real quick, there's some warthogs, big hairy rocks right up in front of us, lying in the back there. There's 3 of them. Some of the largest burrowing species of animals and recyclers. They will reuse a burrow animal, farm themselves, then back up to them. Check it out to protect their home. Large tusks are breaking up the ground, the roots encounter.
Oh, they're right there.
The water buck, up here in front of us, walking towards us. Another antelope species, very long, shaggy coats, very oily, high, look at it's a coat, a similar profile. Hang around large bodies of water, like to migrate very often. They'll smell too great though, the oily, but they do have heart-shaped noses that we love. They're literally stinking cute. And the ostrich, peeking over the pickup truck down the right. We're talking to the keepers there. Largest place on the planet, which ranges around 9 feet tall. We're almost 40 miles per hour, which is around 16 feet long. Now there's a female, more light brown grayish than others. She's keep watching this area. You've noticed in the grass up here on the right there is still some ostrich eggs, which are incredibly strong. They each weigh about 3 pounds. But they put up 2 dozen chicken eggs for 1 ostrich egg, and they are strong enough that the average adult can sit on top of them and not going to break. It needs all the weight of the entire ostrich lying at the top of them. And you can see back there, the alpha female lays her egg in a spot she deems best. The rest of their eggs surrounding it, get more of a communal nest. Even then, it's not really much of a nest though. We're just scratch or dip in the ground to make sure those eggs don't roll away. Now we're passing by the warden's post. Just work at the end of the reserves, can watch for any poachers or anyone that may want to misuse the land. As you can like to see here in a moment, the warden keeps them company. There are still some Nigerian dwarf goats, domesticated goat species, and the dairy products that produce, the milk, butter, and cheese. Quite social and friendly. They're also excellent climbers, they'll be excellent weeders, they'll help out the village, the wardens out in their gardens. They tend to eat and graze much tougher weeds that other animals do not like. And despite their size, not going to get any bigger than this. Pretty bumpy here, friends, hanging on over some potholes. Down the road heading back to the village, another story on the shore of the view is that Disney has a program that is a zebra conservation program. They noticed that pregnant zebras require a lot of water, and thus due to habitat loss, they have been wandering across farmers' land, trampling those crops, trying to reach these water sources. So in an attempt to protect them both, Disney is partnered with some nonprofits. We're trying to purchase protected land for those zebras. Trying to rebuild this habitat again for them. But to also agree with those farmers about trying to create safe passageways and designated corridors either around or even through the current farmlands. Over 2 nearby water sources, just at this one around the corner here. That way those crops do not get trampled and destroyed, and those pregnant zebras sit in the water that they so desperately need. We are sharing land with them after all. But now, my friends, we're on the corner here, we'll be the unknown docks, where we'll be dropping the off at. So I do have to leave, but first of all, we'll check those pockets and roads. There's no roads out here. Things that fall in the quite easily, and it's a very long trek back to Africa, if you haven't forget anything. Now that our journey has come to an end, he'd probably like to say goodbye, and that's far too sad and far too final. So instead, we'd much prefer to say, Kwaherini, but it's Swahili for go well. So, Kwaherini, friends, go well, go wild, but please, not too wild. And have a great rest of your day here in the Kingdom or wherever your next trip may take you. My name is Bill, Colorado Springs, Colorado. Thank you very much for joining us today. Have a great day as well.